I want to talk about 3 different games, right? One of them that I play a lot, Overwatch. The second one that I play not often, but I would still argue too much, which is Apex Legends. And third, a game that I used to play all the time, Fortnite. What do these games all have in common? Currently, they have one really big thing, which are these retro-ish game modes that they're letting out. If you haven't heard, for Overwatch, there's this game mode called Overwatch Classic. It brings back a game mode that had been removed in Overwatch 2 alongside some maps and 12 OG heroes that were released when the game dropped with their original abilities, undoing years and years of patch notes and balancing in favor of restoring these heroes to their original states in these OG maps and sharing them off for players to play. In Apex Legends, it's the same deal essentially. You get the OG map that came out when the game dropped, a bunch of legends to pick from, all of which have their original abilities back, which may have been tweaked over the years. It's same deal as Overwatch. I played it a few times. The gun rarity is different now, so that certain guns are different types now, require different types of ammo. The armor system, which was probably the most glaring change from OG Apex to where Apex is now, was also changed. And thirdly, with Fortnite, I don't know, just because I don't play a whole lot of Fortnite, but I know they're bringing back the original map. The weapon loot is going back to the OG versions, and I'm sure there will be countless other content drops too, which resemble the OG seasons, OG format, OG everything, essentially. I mean, as far as I've read, it's going to be brought back as a permanent game mode, which should show a lot to the popularity. But before I get too far in this, obviously this isn't the first time that video game companies, or any company, across any field, have attempted to pull on nostalgia as an ally and, gone back to an earlier version of a game. As you guys know, I'm reading a book right now called Play Nice. I'm talking all about Blizzard and its rise and fall. And they talk about how they did this for World of Warcraft, where they made World of Warcraft Classic back in, I think it was 2019. So obviously this is not a new idea. This has been done before, and I think after this will be done almost to death. But that's not the point. My question here, I guess, is why? And I guess a part of it is what I kind of touched on when talking about Fortnite in terms of the game's popularity back at these previous points. I mean, obviously Overwatch won Game of the Year in 2016 using the gameplay that they're bringing back now. They get to feed off of, nostalgia. Newer players get the chance to go back and play the OG version for the first time and see how far the game has come. And, that isn't just applicable to Overwatch, it's applicable to every single game that I talked about now, Apex and Fortnite, and any other game that attempts to do a similar thing. It gets to appease their older players, showing off, how the game was before, letting them relive it. It could be full of nostalgia, and it lets the newer players see what they missed out on and decide for themselves of whether, they really missed out on a whole lot. I mean, like I said, with Overwatch, I tried to play Mercy a few times, and I remember just how crucial her Guardian Angel ability is now in terms of her own independent movement. Back in 2016, she did not have that, and feels very different as a result. I could say the same for Lucio, whose wall riding ability is practically non-existent in the way that we know it today. I could apply this to a million other characters and heroes and legends. I mean, I will briefly make a talking point about Lifeline from Apex. Very much a different character now in comparison to back then. Very much a different character, unfortunately. I think the main distinction between both versions of Lifeline, both old and new, is their sort of place in team fights. The old Lifeline had shields, she had a stationary healing bot. I mean, it was very much like a, hey, we lived, let's breathe for a moment. Lifeline makes it breathing a little bit easier. Was she being broken out in the middle of combat to necessarily bring people back to life, heal people, res people, whatever? No. Is this new version? Absolutely. Now she gets the mobile healing bot. She can stick it to people so they can heal and move at the same time. She can do this thing which, I hear from my friends all the time. She can tap res, where she just, hits the revive button and then can move away as the bot heals the person. They also completely reworked her ult from a care package to a big shielding system, with the whole idea that in the middle of team fights, teams can use a Lifeline ult to sort of recoup their energies, restore their shields, reload, whatnot, take stock of the situation, and then act from there. So, I mean, overall, it feels like she's gone from very passive to active in her role with her abilities roles in the team fight. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. I really liked her care package. I feel like it was a passive way to help benefit your team. Given the fact that I'm not the best at Apex, I mean, I felt like that was a cool role to have, but I understand why they've made it more active on the other end of the spectrum for players who want to be more engaged and involved. But once again, I think I'm going a little off topic because the question still goes back to why. Like I said, a part of it could be the popularity piece, the nostalgia piece. Everybody wants things to go back how they were. I think we hold an idealized version of how games played when we played them when we were younger, whether we were kids when we played it, whether we were teens, no matter where we were in life, things hit differently in the past, right? But at the same time, I think there's another subtle message here. Not only is this about nostalgia and about, reliving the past, the glory days and all that, I think it's also, sort of a subtle comment from gameplay developers, game developers, right? I mean, not only are they showing off these older game modes, they could be showing off, hey, this is how the game was for Overwatch back in 2016. Look at all the improvements we've made when you go back and play our regular game modes, right? It's what it feels like. That's what it could be. It could be a subtle thing from almost every gameplay developer. From the Overwatch team, it could be them saying, hey, remember how bad and how OP and how crazy Roadhog's hook was in 2016? Now it's different. Now he's been reworked, but he's so much better to play against and play than he was in 2016. From the Apex Legends devs perspective, they could say, hey, do you remember how strong and how busted the wingman was when it took heavy ammo instead of whatever the fuck it takes now? I mean, that's obviously, if I knew more about Apex and I gave a shit about it, I could provide better commentary on it. But the same idea, I think, applies, right? It could say, hey, remember how Lifeline was back in 2016? She was super weak in comparison to other Legends, not worth playing, and was overall a really weak pick. And compared to now, with all these changes we've made with how she can impact the game and assist her team as a medic, she's so much better now. That's the kind of stuff I'm saying. Obviously, I really can't make the same comparison to Fortnite because they tend to just redo maps, re-add weapons, and seems to have minimal balance issues at all. But when I do say minimal balance issues, I'm obviously talking about weapons and not whatever the fuck they were doing with cars and stuff, however many seasons ago that was. That was not fun. But regardless, that's basically why I think that we're seeing these game modes pop up more. These game modes which include, these, retro features and stuff. Features from years ago, from earlier patches of the game, earlier iterations. Two big reasons. One, obviously nostalgia. Nostalgia will always sell, no matter what it is. Could be music, video games, art, anything like that. It will always sell. Second is, I don't know. I'll admit, it's a half-baked idea on my part about some sort of commentary coming from developers about how much the game has changed since launch and how much better it has gotten. I wish I was more insightful and better with words, but unfortunately I haven't fully fleshed out the idea. I don't think I ever will, which is why the video is coming out. Regardless, I'd love to know what you guys think. Am I right? Am I really fucking stupid? You guys you guys will, are very good at telling me. So, of course, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.